In this week's program, we're visiting with Chief Game Warden Scott Winkelman to go over some of the common violations that occurred in 2024. I'm Mike Anderson with the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. Scott, how many game wardens do we have statewide, and what is their responsibility?
So, Mike, in the state we have 39 game wardens, but that includes all the supervisors and myself. In the field wardens, there is 29.
Okay, and what do they primarily do? What's their role?
Their primary role is to enforce the state's wildlife laws and regulations, to help save wildlife, protect people. A lot of our violations are safety related, such as loaded guns in a vehicle while hunting, life jackets, things like that.
Okay, and they also work with schools and other community groups.
Absolutely, that's something we take serious and pride ourselves on, is our communication with the public, school groups, sports shows, different events such as toy drives around Christmas, Halloween trunk or treats. That's one of the things that the outreach is really positive for our division and our department.
So they're involved in their local communities.
Absolutely, that we encourage all of our wardens to be involved in their local communities, get to know people, and it is a positive outcome for everybody.
Okay, let's move into 2024 game and fish related violations. Are they up or down?
Overall, the violations for 2024 were down slightly from 2023. There were a few areas that were down and an area or two that were up, but overall they are down slightly.
Scott, let's kind of break it down into groups.
Sure.
Let's start with boating. What were some of the major boating violations in 2024?
Well, unfortunately, as always, the failure to have enough PFDs on board is high, and it's really unfortunate because it's such an easy rule to follow. Just make sure everybody has enough personal flotation devices on board their boats, and that's one we take serious because it is a significant safety issue. Another interesting one for boating is the unregistered boats or unlicensed boats. We're down quite a bit, but that's to be expected. When we're not in the first year of the registration cycle, they generally are down.
Another top priority for the Game and Fish Department is aquatic nuisance species. How are those violations?
Yeah, aquatic nuisance species is definitely something we focus on. We've gotten some extra funding from the legislature over the years to focus on aquatic nuisance species and detection and enforcement. Thankfully, the aquatic nuisance species citations were down this year. People seem to be taking it seriously. We don't see a lot of water in live wells anymore. The main issue we still see is people not taking the plug out of their boat, out of the bilge.
Scott, let's move on to fishing. Good news in some of the fishing areas. Explain the violation that's down in fishing.
So for fishing, the fishing over limit citations were down dramatically from 2023. Now, that's good. The downside to that is it's probably related to just what the quality of the fishing was, the success over the year. Fishing success in 2024 just wasn't quite as good as it was in 2023, and the number of over limits were down substantially.
Okay, well, what are some of the other fishing violations?
So some of the other fishing violations that we deal with are illegal use of bait, using too many lines, unattended lines for ice fishing.
Okay, do we still have issues with people not buying a fishing license and fishing?
Absolutely, we do. We find quite a few people who don't have a fishing license.
Let's move into hunting. What are some of the common violations for hunting?
Common violations for hunting, it depends on if you're talking small game or big game. So
let's start with small game first.
Okay, for small game, one of the major ones is unplugged shotguns and failure to leave ID on your game when it's being transported.
And what do you mean by that? So if you harvest a pheasant and you're going to transport it, you need to keep.
So upland game, pheasants, sharp-tailed grouse, Hungarian partridge, you need to either keep a fully feathered leg, fully feathered wing, or the fully feathered head naturally attached to the bird while it's being transported. For waterfowl, it has to be either a fully feathered wing or a fully feathered head. You can't leave the leg on waterfowl.
Okay, let's move into big game.
Big game, some of the violations that we deal with more common are illegal taking and possession and fail to tag.
Okay. Scott, any other violations that your wardens were dealing with in 2024?
Our plots areas are public land open to sportsmen. There are regulations, rules on that land, such as non-residents can't hunt them the first week of the pheasant season, can't drive off trail, you can't leave equipment unattended, certain violations like that. Those plots violations were up a fair amount this year.
Okay, in the big picture, Scott, most people are following the letter of the law. Let's talk about some other things your game wardens do. And that is, they're out there talking to people every day, all day in some cases.
Yeah, for sure, Mike. Our wardens are out there all the time, being that, I'll say, first line of communication between the department and the hunters, anglers, trappers, boaters of the state. We make over 50,000 contacts with people a year, and that doesn't include all the phone calls that we take and just talking to landowners. That's checking licenses. So a lot of answering questions, building relationships, and generally just promoting the hunting, fishing, and boating of the state.
Scott, your wardens use technology to do their jobs. What type of things are they using?
So yeah, technology has become a big issue. All our trucks are quite outfitted now with their computer in the truck, computer-aided dispatch, something that we've had in-car video, but we are going to be starting using body cameras here in the near future also.
Just like a lot of the other law enforcement officers.
Absolutely, and that's both for evidence collection, but also transparency with the public and officer safety issues.
Scott, the violations that are written throughout the year, where does that money go?
So under state law, all the fine money from citations that is written goes to the county where the violation occurred and is deposited in the Common Schools Fund. So Game and Fish doesn't get any of that money from the citations that are written.
Game wardens couldn't do their job efficiently if they didn't have the help from the public. Let's talk about the Report All Poachers program.
Absolutely correct, Mike. Like I mentioned earlier, with only 40 or 39 game wardens in the state, we can't be everywhere all the time. There's certainly way more eyes and ears out there than just us. The Report All Poachers program is a cooperative program with the North Dakota Wildlife Federation. People can call, who observe a violation, can call 701-328-9921 and try and report as much information as possible. They'll get a hold of the local game warden and we can investigate it from there.
A lot of great information, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.